Hello everyone, and welcome back. So, today as you can see, there is no gaming. In fact, today I'm doing something I promised a while back, which was I'm doing my Riku of Two Reflections reveal deck. So, I promised this a while back on my Instagram when I received the cards for actually building the deck, and I've only recently just made it comfortable for me to work with. So initially, I built the deck around spamming Mind Player and just stealing everyone's stuff. I didn't like how that ran, so I rejigged it, reworked it, tore it apart, redid everything. And this is now my deck I'm comfortable using and is absolutely fun to play. Now, it's not the best Riku deck in the world. I'm not ever going to claim it will be. I know as far as every deck goes, there's always improvements you can make. But this is my Riku deck. This is how I play it. This is my personal Riku deck. And I'm going to reveal it to you guys so you can see what's in there and you can see the little shenanigans I pull with this. But above here, around somewhere along there will be the info on the deck, so the mana average, cost. I'm using Mana Box to show all this. And we'll quickly get that out of the way with, and then we'll jump into what I've actually got in the deck itself. So as you can see, the mana average is 3.33, so fairly quick casting. The cost comparing with Card Kingdom is under £100. So as far as decks go, it is somewhat on the cheaper side, and it's, as I said, it's fun to play. Also, at the end of the video, I will be saying other things you can possibly put in, and things I personally will be putting in once I've got said cards. But for now, let's just jump straight into it, shall we, and see what we've got. So, starting off, we have the land. Getting the boring stuff out of the way with. Now, currently, I'm running 31 lands. Not very land heavy, but I don't need them. I understand why. So, as far as lands go, I'm sitting on 8 forests, 7 islands, 7 mountains, Wizard Boilerworks, Simic Growth Chamber, Evolving Wilds, Prismari Campus, Thriving Isle, Mana Gate, Study Hall, Command Tower, Reliquary. Now, every deck, in my opinion, should have something like a Reliquary Tower or something, just so you have no maximum hand size. So if you do end up overdrawing, you know you're not going to have to discard. That's my personal opinion, and I have it there just in case. Command Tower, again, in case I'm lacking a color, it's there. Now, Study Hall. I put Study Hall in for the simple fact of I know Riku is going to be one of these commanders that consistently gets pinged. So with the Study Hall, what that's going to allow me to do is when I recast my Riku, I'm then able to scry as many times as I've brought him back into play. So 2-3 times, that's 2-3 scries for me, which is going to help me a little bit. Thriving Isle, Mana Gate, well, they're just there for, so one's red, one's green, one's blue, and then if I haven't got a certain color, I can use one of those to make said color instead. The Prismari Campus, simply in there because I can either tap it for red or blue, but I also get to scry, which is handy. The Evolving Wilds, just go fetch a land, basically. the Simic Grove Chamber and the Izzet Boiler Works. They're dual colors, and they do come in very, very handy, especially with Riku's abilities, and they're kind of the reason I have those in there of his abilities. So yeah, they do come in handy. So nothing big, nothing flashy. 31 lands. Usually you'd run maybe 34 upwards as far as lands go. I'm running 31. But it's not like I really need said lands, and we will get more into that. So let's continue, shall we? Alright, so next up we have artifacts. Now, as far as the artifacts go, this is one of the reasons I said we won't really be needing so much land. And, well, let's just get into it and you'll understand why. So, first up, we have a Simic Signet, an Izzet Signet, and a Gruul Signet. Swiftfoot Boots, Arcane Signet, Midnight Clock, Soul Ring, and a Commander Sphere. So I've got 3 different signets in here, not including Arcane Signet. Obviously, I'm on about the Gruul, the Simic, the Izzet Signet, which... mana, basically. Again, it's the same with the Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, and the Midnight Clock as well, actually tapped for mana. So this is the reason I didn't put so much mana into, or so much land, sorry, into the deck, because we've said artifacts as well. Oh, and the Commander Sphere. Can't forget the Commander Sphere. All of this is basically just mana. The Swiftfoot Boots, because I know how everyone will be pinging the Commander, so basically just attach the Swiftfoot Boots to the Commander, fine, everything's fine. Dandy and fine. Midnight Clock. So the reason I put Midnight Clock in was because I would like to actually reuse my stuff from the graveyard. So initially what I've done is I've put Midnight Clock in there, A, for the extra blue mana, and B, so I can get all my stuff back from the graveyard. But there is plenty of other ways for me to get said stuff back from the graveyard. So, with the artifacts over and done with, let's move on. I have one Planeswalker. That one Planeswalker is Ralstorm Conduit, and I put Ralstorm Conduit in here for the simple fact that whenever you cast an instant sorcery, it'll deal with damage. Like, it'll just start pinging, and it can be either opponent or Planeswalker. So either way, I can cast spells and be like, I ping you, and there's a few spells in this deck which we will get to. But you know, the scry ability as well, and then as well as being able to copy your next instant or sorcery comes in very, very handy. And again, as I said, he will end up going to the graveyard because it happens. So again, Midnight Clock comes in perfect. Right, so moving on. Enchantments. Now, I don't actually run a lot of enchantments. I run 4, as a matter of fact. So there is not a whole lot in the way of enchantments. But the enchantments I have are relatively useful. One in particular, actually. So I have Aqueous Form, Garruk's Uprising, Wilderness Reclamation, Wizard Club. Now, the Aqueous Form, for me, what I tend to do is I just put that on the commander, making him unblockable. But there is reasons, which we will get into. But yeah, I tend to put the Aqueous Form on the commander, make him unblockable, so I can just stop pinging him. Garruk's Uprising, so gives everything trample, which again, reasons which we'll be getting into. But also at the same time, whenever a creature with 4 or more enters the battlefield, I get to draw a card. So card draw, fantastic. Everyone needs card drawing deck. Now, my favorite enchantment in this deck, Wilderness Reclamation. At my end step, I get to untap all of my lands, and that is not something you want to be seeing, especially if someone is running blue. So with this being a green, red, and blue, for me to be able to untap all my lands after that, yeah, that's not good for the opponent. But handy for me. And lastly, we have Wizard class. Again, no maximum hand size card drawing. Counters I'm not too fussed with. It was in there purely for the no maximum hand size. I like to make sure I have measures, countermeasures, so on. So next up we have sorceries. I'm currently running 17, which I know for some that's probably a little too high, considering when you compare that to the 12 instants we'll be getting to in a moment. 17 sorceries is probably a little bit higher than what it should be, but again, very useful, very handy. If at any point I am going too fast for you, by the way, just pause the video so you can give the cards a good read and so on and so forth. Anyway, sorceries. So I have Beneath the Sands, Burn Down the House, Cartographer's Survey, Expressive Iteration, Fabricate, Flowering, Genesis Ultimatum, Bay of the Land, Muse Vortex, Quasi-Duplicate, Rampant Growth, Reclaim the Waste, Rousing Refrain, Search for Tomorrow, Spitting Image, Unexpected Results, and Witness the Future. So, things in here obviously, go get lands, well actually a lot of them are go get lands, but you've got things in here like Witness the Future, which again is getting stuff back from graveyard, so use, reuse. Unexpected Results, my favorite sorcery in this entire deck. So you pay the 4 mana, shuffle your library, you reveal the top card. If it's a land card, it goes onto the battlefield. Unexpected Results goes back to your hand. However, it could also be quite devastating with what else is in this deck, because if you get something that is a permanent, so such as an enchantment, a creature, it just immediately goes on the battlefield, which for this deck is bloody amazing, I might add. It's so good, and I love it. Rousing Refrain I put in because extra red mana, and I know for a multicolored deck it's probably like, oh, but what if you've got all this red mana? Trust me, with this deck you always need that extra mana. So I think I'm running a little bit more on the greens and blues side instead of the reds, but those reds help, especially when it comes to the casting and the cost of casting, which we'll get into with the creatures and spells. So, for example, one of those ways you could use some of those red mana is for things like Vortex, which has an X cost ability to it. So you can just use those X cost abilities using that red mana that you picked up. And then, of course, obviously, there's things in here like the full flowering or quasi-duplicate, token. That is the main basis of this deck. Tokens, making an absolute abysmal amount of tokens, especially with a few of the creatures. As I said, we will get into Genesis Ultimatum. Not a card a lot of people like. Now, the reason I have this in the deck is because of 2 reasons. I like the ability of it, but at the same time, I can also, so for example, if I have said mana, what I can do with it is if Riku is on the field and Ralsthorn Conduit is on the field, it can then copy that twice. Now, having one go off is bad, but having 3 of those Genesis ultimatums go off. Yeah, that's... people don't want to be seeing that. Not really. So again, just flawless and could be quite vicious and nasty if needed. So I've also got Burn Down the House, which in itself, I guess you could say it's just like a cheapy little board wipe. Yes, I know it hits everything, but a cheapy little board wipe. But I'm not too fussed as far as my stuff goes. Again, we'll get into that. And then of course, things like the expressive iteration. Look at the top 3 cards. Exile one into your hand, one on the bottom. The one that's exiled you can play. For this deck, again, well, like most decks, it can either be a good thing or a bad thing. So far, every time I've managed to play it, it's been a good thing. A very good thing. So, Fabricate, it's to go get... excuse me. It's to go get your artifacts. So, as mentioned before, there's a few artifacts, so if there's a specific one I need at that specific moment in time, and Fabricate is able to be played, I can then just go get it. And failing that, I can get 2 or 3, depending on how many times I'm able to copy said spell. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? So the next one is Instance, and I am currently running 12 in comparison to 17 sorceries now. The reason I don't have a lot of Instants is because I don't need them. Not really. So I've got some Instants in here that do work. There's some countermeasures and a few other bits and pieces in here which we're about to get into. But because of the fact that, in a sense, I'm able to recycle my graveyard, didn't really need them. So I could just get them from the graveyard and put them back and so on and so forth. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, hang on a minute, I've only seen 2 cards that get stuff back from the graveyard. We will get to that in a moment. So, Instance. I am currently running Annul, Tackling Counterpart, Cancel, Chaos, Deliberate, Druid's Deliverance, Growth Spiral, Mana Leak, Reinterpret, Simic Charm, Spell Pierce, and Syncopate. So again, there's Syncopate, which has the X cost ability, so continuing back on with the Rousing Refrain, it's gonna help out again. Counter spells, so we've got Spell Pierce, we've got Null, we've got Reinterpret, we've got Cancel. Now, of all of those, my favorite one is Reinterpret, because when you counter with Reinterpret, you can play something that has an equal or less amount of value to the thing you just countered, so it's very, very good. Things like Druid's Deliverance, yes, okay, it stops the combat damage for a turn, and you get to populate, which, again, more tokens in this deck, absolutely crucial. So we've got things like Growth Spiral, there's a cheapy cost card, which allows me to draw a card and everything, and helps. We have the Simic Charm, which, I can beef something up, or give my stuff hexproof, or I can return a target creature to its owner's hand, which, believe it or not, is actually really good for this deck. But for creatures with this deck, but it's also good if, for example, the opponents have something I don't quite like and don't really have an answer for right this moment. I can just go, okay, boom, hit that back to your hand, So very, very handy. So we've got Cackling Counterpart, which is again more token stuff, which, as I said previously, for this deck, fantastic. Chaos Warp, could either be really good for you or really bad for you, depending on how it goes. For me, so far, I think there's only been 2 instances where it's gone really bad. One of which is when I was actually using it against an opponent, and they bought something out. Fortunately, it completely messed up my whole game. But there we are. Deliberate is scry 2, draw a card. It just helps me look through my deck and everything. And again, if I can copy that a couple times over, I can then, scry, don't like that, put at the bottom, draw, scry, and so on and so forth. So, in a way, there is a little bit of deck manipulation, but sometimes you kind of need it, and I think it is crucial in most decks, it's the whole deck manipulation. Anyway, let's get to the fun part. So, creatures. This is the part everyone has been waiting for. I am currently using 26 creatures. And there's reasons behind all the creatures I am using. And we'll go in depth a bit more about it. But for now, anyway, I have Adrix and Nev Twincasters, Biovisioner, Ortusk League, Charmbreaker Devil, Dazzling Sphinx, Demi, Elvish Hydromancer, Gala Greeters, Hornet Queen, Hullbreaker Horror, Jessian Invoke, Pierre Disciple of the Drowned, Mercutial Pretender, Mind Flayer, Mindwreck Liege, Mirrorhawk Mimic, Mercfiend, Proud Wildmon, Pondrix Apprentice, Rionya Fire Dance, Because of Nature, Social Climber, Stormtide Leviathan, Surak Dragon, Undercover Operative, G Roastmaster. Now, so we've got things in here like the Undercover Operative and Mirrorhawk Mimic, which, along with the Mercutial Pretender, they come in as a copy of creatures. So something good is on the field, I can just go boom, yep, boom, yep, boom, yep. So let's say, for example, I had my Mind Flayer on the field. Oh yeah, I play Mercutial Pretender. Or an Undercover Operative, they come in as a copy of Mind Flayer, which means when Mind Flayer comes onto the field, I get to steal something. Now, copies and copies of those, I can just go, I steal, and it's amazing. Absolutely upsets everyone. Excuse me, but it's absolutely fun. Now, the Proud Wildmon. I mentioned earlier about the whole Garruk's Uprising enchantment, which gives everything trample. Well, here's why I have Proud Wildmon in the deck. So everything with trample, even if they are blocked, the opponent still gets 100% of that damage. Now you're probably thinking, but there's a lot of low stuff in the deck, so on and so forth. That's right. However, I have 3 different lieges in this deck, which so I'm going to take you guys back to a previous game that I had recently with one fucking main. And I had my Riku on the field. I also had Shapers of Nature on the field, as well as Boartusk Liege. So here's the thing, with Boartusk Liege being on the field, I made 5 copies of Boartusk Liege. So initially there was 6 copies of Boartusk Liege. Now, my friend's board state was pretty gnarly. It was big, it was, but with all of those, with those 5 copies, not including the original copy, well, let's just say with all 6 of the Boartusk Lieges on the field, my Riku got to a 16/16 commander. On top of that, all Boartusk Lieges were 13/14s, and the Shapers of Nature became 9/9. Adding all of that up, that's about 103 direct damage. So had I had Garrett, no, I had Garrett's Uprising on the field, excuse me, sorry. But had I had the Proud Wild Bonder on the field, even if everything had got blocked, that would have been game. Now, he was using a Sith Stag, which was quite, he was getting life gain, so on and so forth. Even with all the life he had, because I think he was now heading up to his, I think he was now hitting close to 60. So even with close to 60 on his life, that's still 103 direct damage. I mean, that alone, 16 commander damage is not something to scoff at, you know? 16 direct commander damage. Nasty. So, yes, with Mind Rack Liege, War Tusk Liege, and the other one. I'm sorry, my brain's not quite functioning. Things can get a little volatile very quickly. So a couple of the legendaries I have in here, so Adrix and Nev Twin Casters, yeah, Disciple of the Drowned, and Surek Dragonclaw. Adrix and Nev Twin Casters, because of the tokens. Yeah, need more tokens. Always need more tokens. Surek Dragonclaw and Leah. So Surek Dragonclaw has flash, for example, very handy. Anything with flash is just nasty, especially if you've got the reclamation enchantment thing on the field where we land and tap someone. Yeah, I'm just gonna do this. You can just go, oh yeah, well I flashed this, and you know. So very good, very handy. So for a start, that spell can't be countered, and other creature spells you control can't be countered, and it gives all your other creatures trample. So again, with the Proud Wild Bonder, brilliant combo. With Leah as well, it's just, you know, spells can't be countered. Each instant sorcery card in my graveyard has flashback. So again, as I said, I'm playing stuff from the graveyard regardless of what's happening. Speaking of things being played back from the graveyard, Charmbreaker Devils. So with one of those on the field, at the beginning of upkeep, return a random instant or sorcery card from the graveyard to hand. Now you play an instant or sorcery, it's already a 4/4, but it gets +4/+0 whenever you play an instant sorcery. So, I've got, let's say, a good handful of instants and sorceries in the graveyard. Putting 2 or 3 of those Charmbreaker Devils on the field. At the beginning of my upkeep, that is 3 instant and sorceries coming back to my hand. That's insane, especially when you consider the fact that I can then play them at the end of my turn with that reclamation enchantment on the field and everything else. The end step, I untap. For my land, I can then start playing more stuff, and my upkeep, I'm able to draw more and more and more and more. It can get stupid. So I've got things like the Elvish Hydromancer, which when it enters the battlefield, if you kick it, you can make a copy. Again, more copy stuff. Jesse and Infiltrator, it's a cheap little card, it's unblockable, so straight off the bat, for 1 green, 1 blue, you can just start attacking. After Summon Sickness is gone, you can just start attacking, no one can block it. 2 of the nasty little cards that I have in here that I absolutely adore making copies of, and that is Hullbreaker Horror and Storm Leviathan. Very big, very nasty, and with each of those onto the field, and I'm then able to make copies of them, the board can get very nasty. Especially when, I mean, it's bad enough having 1 Hullbreaker Horror on the field. If you've got about 3 or 4 of those on the field, that is disgusting. So, quick rundown, has flash, can't be countered, and whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. For return target creature spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So if you have 4 Hullbreaker Horrors, for example, if you have 4 Hullbreaker Horrors, you play just one instant or sorcery spell, you are putting 4 things back in their owner's hand. And it can get quite nasty, especially when they've already got a decent board set up and they've played everything they really want to. It can just mess up their game. So, other than those, we got some small things like the Gala Greeters, Social Climber, the Witty Roastmaster. So, Social Climbers, a creature enters the battlefield, gain a life. Make a couple of those, you're constantly gaining life for that. The Gala Greeters, their ability triggers once per turn, but you make about 3 or 4 of those. You can you make 2 copies of that one Gala. You can then do 1 of each, which is handy because you get treasure token +1/+1 counters on the Gala Greeters, or life gain. And I know it only triggers 1 Gala Greeters, but still very handy. And the Witty Roastmaster also has Alliance, so when another creature enters the battlefield, each opponent gets pinged for 1. So what you can do is you can make 2-3 copies of those. 1 creature comes in, everyone gets pinged for 3, 4. It can get quite ghastly. Demi-Lich. So the reason I put the Demi-Lich in, it costs 4 blue, but it costs 1 less of those blue. Each instant and sorcery that has been cast this turn. But I have got. Just to clarify, I have got. So whenever Demi-Lich attacks, I can exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from my graveyard and copy it. I may cast that copy. And I may cast Demi-Lich from the graveyard by exiling 4 instant and or sorcery cards from the graveyard in addition to paying its other cost. So again, I am using that graveyard to play my instant, play my sorceries, and that's kind of one way I built this deck, is to just be able to play stuff graveyard, quick bam, you know. One of my other favorite cards that I absolutely love in this deck is Dazzling Sphinx. And Dazzling Sphinx, so good, especially if you make 3 copies of it, so you can get 1 to attack. So for example, you're in a pod of 4, you get 1 to attack each opponent. It can get quite nasty. Whenever Dazzling Sphinx deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then that player puts the exiled cards that weren't cast this way onto the bottom of their library in a random order. So initially what I'm doing, I'm using my opponent's instants and sorceries against them. And I love it, because I know some of them have, like, a couple of my mates, when they play, that I know they have some amazing stuff in their library as far as instants and sorceries go. So it's like, yes, I will gladly play that one, so you can't, you know, so on, so forth. Now you may have noticed as well, I had Biovisionary in the deck. That's right. Easy win token thing. So Biovisionary is a very cheap costing card. And at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, Biovisionary, you win the game. So going back to why I didn't really have a whole lot of instants and why I've got some more sorceries, so you may have noticed mana cost on some of the sorceries are 1 or less. So I can then team that up with Rionya Fire Dancer. And this here is my winning combo, supposing I can get them. And it states, at the beginning of combat, on your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. They gain haste, exile with end step. On combat, casting 3 or 4 spells, it's going to make copies of Biovision, therefore winning me the game. I've yet to pull the combo off, but at the same time, I'm one of these, I prefer to stay away from it just so I enjoy the game we're playing. But yes, there is an instant win clause in the deck. As I stated, the deck isn't so bad that it's not, you can't go against it or it's overpowered. But yes, there is a instant win. Excuse me. There is a instant win clause in the deck. I'm not saying there's not ways and means around it, but at the same time, I built the deck so I can enjoy it. And originally, yes, I wanted to build the deck to be an absolute nasty, pain in the ass thing to do. Instead, I've now built a deck I'm comfortable using, I'm happy using, but at the same time, it's still a problem. If left unchecked, it is still a problem. Moving to some things I am considering putting in the deck. So, one of the things I am considering putting in the deck is Elvish Piper. Now, Elvish Piper costs 1 green and 3 color. Could be wrong, I will have the card posted. But yes, Elvish Piper. So, you wait a turn for 1 green mana and tapping Elvish Piper, you can put a creature onto the battlefield. 1 green mana. Why would you not, right? So, the cost of Hullbreaker Horror, which is 2 blue and 5. 1 green mana is on the field. Stupid. It would be absolutely stupid. Or, you know, Stormtide Leviathan, for example. Again, something very, very big. 1 green mana. So you copy Elvish Piper 2, 3, 4 times, or however many times you want. So you've got a hand where you've got all your big stuff, or you've purposely drawn into those big stuff. You could just go, oh yeah, 1 green mana, bump, bump. 1 green mana, bump, bump. You know, it could get very, very, very silly. Another one that I will be considering putting in as well is Mirror Box, because a legendary rule doesn't apply, but I wouldn't be using it to make copies of Surak or Lier. No. The one thing I would be using it to copy would be Adrix and Nev Twincaster, because of the extra tokens you get. So just copying Adrix and Nev over and over and over again, I'm going to get 70 copies. So when you think about it, again, that itself can get very, very silly. So I can then go, oh yeah, by the way, I play Hornet Queen. Hornet Queen enters the battlefield. Or flying Death Touch insects enter the battlefield. And then that's where you can get very disgusting with it. Because you can then go, oh yes, with Riku's ability, I'm then going to make a copy of Hornet Queen. So here's the thing. You've got 4, 5, 6, however many copies of Adrix and Nev Twincasters. You are doubling up so much. And Hornet Queen, and with all these giant, well, not giant, but all these, you're going to have a swarm of deadly insects, and it's not good. For the opponent, it is not good. So yeah, you'll be protected, and everything, like all your flyers, including Hornet Queen itself, will have Death Touch, or does have Death Touch, so it's not like you will not be protected. Another thing I was actually considering putting in, it was Blasphemous Act, and the reason I decided that I was considering to put that in was because of, excuse me, the combo of having 6 leisures on the field, boosting my commander up. And for those of you that don't know, it will be over here somewhere. There way somewhere. But Blasphemous Act costs 1 less creature on the field, and it does 13 damage to everything. Yeah. My commander is a 16/16. It's not going to matter too much, because he's going to survive, but I guarantee there's going to be a lot of things that don't. And of course, again, I can get that back from the graveyard, so on and so forth. And so, another one that I had considered putting in was I think it was Nick's Boom Ancient or something. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the card, but I will have it somewhere over here. But again, you can just copy this card and you have ridiculous amounts of mana. But I probably won't do that because I don't need it. It's just an idea that I had that it could work. It could work. But that concludes the Riku deck. My Riku deck that I enjoy playing. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. There will be other deck reveals that I have, such as well, I think I have currently 4, 5 decks, so I will be doing deck reveals on all of those. I will be trying to actually get some footage of me playing with said decks, so you know, either be it one-on-one or you know, whatever, basically whatever I can do. But yeah, I'm hoping I can get some footage so you can see how the decks run, how it functions, so on and so forth, and if I do make any more other decks, I can then post them up as well. So the one thing I am curious as to know is what you guys actually think of said deck that I have built, and if there's anything that you think that could possibly go in that could be a bit more fun or break the deck, if you will, or better still, letting me know what your Riku deck is, or make a video of explaining your decks, and everyone can then share their own deck ideas or something. But with that being said, I want to say thank you all for watching. I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.